أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله أوله بلا أول كان قبله وآخره بلا آخر يكون بعده الذي قصرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين وأجزت عن نعته أوهام الواصفين ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا حبيبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبو القاسم المصطفى محمد وعليه الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الدائم على أعدائهم وغاصبي حقوقهم ومنكري فضائلهم ومناقبهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد ضم الله أجورنا وأجوركم والسلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. Duality is the reality of existence. However, it's a paradox in itself because there is no existence but the existence of God Himself. And there is only one existence that exists. We all gathered here in a gathering which brings us closer to realization of that oneness of God, which is the Majlis of Imam Hussain. The vehicles which bring us closer to the realization of the oneness and the presence of the oneness and having that feel of annihilation in that oneness, which is fana, are considered to be the most beautiful, considered to be the most valuable vehicles. There isn't any vehicle, that is more powerful than the vehicle of Hussain. Sayyid Ali Qazi Tabatabai, Ustad of Allama Tabatabai, says, it is impossible that a person could reach to the understanding of the nature of God or to the understanding of what Tawheed is unless or until it's with Hussain. And it makes sense too when we reflect upon what Abu Abdullah al-Hussain alayhi salam performed and how he orchestrated the event of Karbala itself, which allowed the baqa, the subsistence, which allowed the remaining of the concept and understanding of Tawheed by his sacrifice. Not just the understanding of Tawheed in a philosophical or conceptual sense, but also Tawheed in terms of its action. In a terminological way, we would put this as Tawheed ilmi, as a concept, and Tawheed amali, which is as an action. And the champion of this is clearly Abu Abdullah al-Hussain and the Ashab of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And then after that, those who delivered this message, saved this message and passed it on to us, which is Ali ibn al-Hussain and Hazrat Zainab, Kulthum, Hazrat Ruqayya, Hazrat Sakina, and the ladies of Ahl Bayt and the captives. Now, as I was mentioning that the medium which connects to that oneness is lovable by Allah and also lovable by us. The beauty of that medium is Allah also loves that. How beautifully our young lad recited a Marsiya just now. Amazing. That moved. We love you and Allah loves you too, because you became that source of connection which allowed us to shed some tears upon the Masahib of Ahl Bayt alayhi salam. So the point is that we all have to yearn and try our level best to become that medium. And the baqa and the subsistence of this medium is because of Allah Himself, right? And as this medium subsists, it becomes the source of connection of others to that oneness. Like I said earlier in the very beginning, there is duality. Once we say existence itself means duality. There is Allah and other than Allah. That's the creation. It's Allah and creation. So now when you have that creation, as the creation is created and comes about into existence, and there is no other choice for it to not to come about, because Allah is the creator. Where there is waves, if there is an ocean, and the waves will be there. It's a natural reality of it, because the goodness is in Allah to create. Otherwise it will be considered as waste of the talent of Allah, and Allah doesn't waste anything. So He is the creator and He will create, and creation is good. It's like, for example, somebody sitting back over there, my phone is about to fall, or if I'm about to fall, the person in the back will jump naturally, although he might not be able to reach me. The person sitting here will reach me. But that person have that goodness in him or in her, it will move naturally, right? So that's how the creation is. If the creation is there, if Allah is there, the creation will be there. There's no other choice than that. People ask why Allah created us. Well, it is natural. It's Allah created because He's good and He's Hakim and He's wise. And the creation will be there. The light will be there when the sun will rise. It's natural and automatic. So therefore, when we talk about creation, it's an indication of that duality, Allah and that. And as soon as that creation is created, the very instant it yearns for returning back. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. That's why you find that we are always in the state of yearning. We are always in the state of moving towards something else. Sometimes we know where we are moving, which is ilayhi raji'un, but sometimes we don't know. We are moving. We want to move from the state we are, to a betterment or whatever. Whether we are moved by force or we want to move, this is always there. That yearning is always there. And the error is actually we misunderstand this yearning belongs to where. This yearning is actually belonging towards Allah. When the sixth Imam came to a patient, a person who was ill, and he said, and one may think that this is actually, he's kind of expressing his pain towards hope or towards something to release that pain. And the sixth Imam says that is actually name of Allah. It's actually Allah. And then when Hussain says that when he stopped in Karbala, he says, min Karbala. Min Karbala. This the scholars have said is not in the sense that he's like, or but he's saying actually Allah. He's taking the name of Allah, which is min Karbala. Oh Allah, to you we take refuge in Karbala. That's is that. So therefore, sometimes we make, mistake in terms of recognizing in which direction are we yearning, where are we heading, where are we going, right? We all are going, right? And we are trying to go towards that state, that feeling of that oneness, right? Although we are one with God at this very moment, and particularly in this Majlis-e-Aza, this is the highest level, where Allama Tabatabai, the Sahib Mizan, him. He says that when you go to Majlis, it's like you're going to Haram of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. This is Haram of Imam Hussain. This is Karbala. This is where we are. And he would be the first one to arrive and last one to leave, they say. Because nobody wants to leave Karbala. Abbas Bhai is quite worried right now, People will not leave, He says So that's how he, understood the Majalis of Imam Hussain as, the value of the Majalis of Imam Hussain as. He also says that I am willing to give away whatever I have done in my life in terms of writing the books, not just tafsir, there are many other works of Allama. Training the students, many students, Aghay Hassan Zadeh, Aghay Jawadi, Aghay Saadat Parvar, Tahriri, you name it, right? Amazing students, right? And whatever I have done, all ziyarat, everything, all that I have done, I am willing to exchange this reward that I achieve for what I have done for the reward of one Marsiya Khani, a person who recite a Marsiya for Hussain. So what reward is in that of Marsiya Khani of Hussain? That Allama is saying, I am willing to exchange everything what I have for that one Marsiya, just one Marsiya Khani. Yeah. Right? That's the Majlis of Hussain. That's the Marsiya Khani. These are, that's why Kullu Yawmin Ashura, Kullu Arzin Karbala. All of the scholars have said we have nothing in our life other than or from these Majalis of Imam Hussain. It's Muharram and Safar. It's from these 2 months. Whatever we have is from these 2 months. Right? Because what Hussain have done, he's that medium, right? And I mean, if you really look at it, the sacrifice and what this sacrifice have brought about to us, right? That Raji'un aspect have made it very easy and simple for us. That Raji'un aspect have made it very easy. What is that Raji'un aspect? Is the aspect of that understanding of that Tawheed, that oneness. Feeling that presence of Allah 24/7 in our life. That we are with God. We are not other than God. We are with Him. وَهُوَ مَعَكُمْ أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُمْ. Allah is with you wherever you are. Wherever you turn, there's a face of Allah. These are all Wajhullah right here. These are different beautiful Wajhullah in different formats. Different shapes. Just like how there are different colors of flower. One moment face is this beautiful, the other moment face is that beautiful with a different flower. You are all Mu'mineen. Al-Mu'min. Who is Mu'min? One of the names of Allah is Mu'min. You are Mu'min, Allah is Mu'min too. Right? So this is, and it is Abu Abdullah al-Hussain who have made that easy for us. And the message of Islam, the message of Quran is this. أَيْنَمَا تُوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ is ayah Qurani. Is the message of Quran. Wherever you turn, the face of Allah is ayah. Allah is closer to you than your jugular vein. Is ayah of Quran. Right? Now, if this is the ayah of Quran, then it should make sense. Then we should be able to see the face of Allah. Then we should feel that closeness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to us. Right? It's like, for example, if I ask, our young lad here to lift this chair up while I'm sitting on it. You will not laugh at him if he cannot able to lift, but you laugh at me for asking him to do that. So Allah, when He has mentioned أَيْنَمَا تُوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ, right? That means it is possible. I worship Allah. Do you think I worship Allah that I don't see? Is Amirul Mu'mineen. I see Allah. Right. وَهُوَ مَعَكُمْ أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُمْ. If that was not possible, He would not mention in the Quran. So the possibility of that is there. And that is the true Raji'un. Like as we said, creation, duality, and that Raji'un, that Ruju, is that feeling the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our life. And it is no one other than Him. And Abu Abdullah did that. He left that concept of Tawheed, right? And also he showed the way to reach that Tawheed and made it easier, right? This Majalis, for example, as I was mentioning. Or for example, they say Salatul Layl. Oh, mashallah, 8 rakat and 11 rakat of total, 8 and Shifa and Witr. Okay, 11 rakat you pray, and Sayyid Ali Qazi says that, Aghay Behjat says that it's not possible that a person could reach that manaviya, that spirituality, oneness without Salatul Layl. He must have Salatul Layl in his life in order to reach that. Right? It's entirely up to us. That Amal Saleh, that righteous act, the choice is ours on what level of that beauty we would like to see. Sometimes we see the beauty as this, All mu'mineen, like I said, beautiful, that presence. Sometimes we are in a state where it is very difficult to count that as beauty, but a person could be on that level, could say that ma ra'aytu illa jamila, right? But this ma ra'aytu illa jamila is not that Hussein sacrifices jamil and is beautiful. No, shimr is also very beautiful as well. Because shimr is reflecting that utmost darkness that it should reflect, and Hussein is reflecting that utmost light which it should reflect. This is very beautiful. Right? So that understanding. Now Salatul Layl, for example, action. Right? You say, okay, if you cannot do Salatul Layl, okay, just do Shifa, 2 rakat, and Witr. You can't do 2 and 3, okay, just do 1. If you can't do that, if you want the reward of Salatul Layl, what is the reward of Salatul Layl? The reward of Salatul Layl is to bring us closer to that concept and understand that qurb. Okay, when you drink water, say Assalamu alaikum Abu Abdullah. Made it simple, right? So difficult to wake up, so difficult to make wuzu, 11, 8, right? Hussein says, okay, 6th Imam says, okay, if you can't do that, because Hussein wants us to connect. Hussein wants us to connect. And he has left that legacy behind so that we connect, right? And that's what he was doing too, right? And he wants us to connect with our free choice, not force us. It's not like, oh, okay, अरे भाई हमारे भाई ने दावत दी है मजलिस में जाना है क्योंकि वो हमारे घर की मजलिस में आए हैं. There's no force, right? No, it's by free choice. That's why Imam Hussain went to each and every individual while he was traveling from Mecca to Kufa, from Medina finally to Makkah to Kufa, right, to Karbala. Asked them, come, are you coming with me? Join me. This is what I want to do. This is my plan. Zuhair, Abdullah ibn Zubair, Umar ibn Abdullah ibn Umar, all who were there in Medina or who were in Mecca as well, right? Abdullah ibn Zubair was in Mecca. There wasn't a day that he would not visit the tent of Imam Hussain in Mecca. Every day he would visit Imam Hussain alayhi salam, except one day because he missed that day, and there's a hadith which says that, sorry, I missed yesterday, which means that he was visiting every day. So we figured out that he was visiting Imam Hussain. But still, did he come with Imam Hussain? Imam Hussain asked him, come join me. Abdullah ibn Hurajufi, Imam Hussain asked everybody. Habib ibn Mazahir asked him. Everybody came. Those who came wanted to come. Right? And on the night, what did he say? Okay, well done, everybody. You're in my camp. You're in my tent. I lift my bayah. I guarantee you shafaat of Rasulullah. You wanted Jannah? Okay, you will get Jannah. You can go now. Right? He said, guarantee shafaat. He said, promise Jannah. Everything. There's no more bayan in place now. You go. But what they wanted? They wanted that Jamal. They wanted that Tawheed. That feeling. Right? There was Sulaiman ibn Abdullah. He asked on the day of Ashura. Yeah, there are 2 ashab. I'll mention both stories. He asked on the day of Ashura that, oh Hussein, please, it's time of Zohar. Abu Samama reminded him, but he said to Imam Hussain, said, please allow me that I want to protect you while you're praying. Because they were attacking. Continuously arrows were coming and attacking. So he asked, why you? So he says, I was in Kufa, and when Muslim ibn Aqil came, right, I gave bayah to him. It's about 400 farzaq from Mecca to Kufa, right? So we're in Kufa. Muslim came, I gave bayah. Muslim gave me a letter so that I take it to you. So I took the letter, I came to Makkah, another 400, 800, right? Then I came back, you sent me back, then I went to Kufa again. Then when I knew you are in Karbala, I came to Karbala. So this, he adds up and he says about 1200 farsakh I have done. Please honor me that I do this for you. Right? This is the ashab. And that's why Karbala becomes Karbala. People like this. And then he was standing and protecting Imam Hussain, and there was this last arrow. His body was full of arrows because he was protecting. And the last arrow came, and then he put his face in front of that arrow. And he falls in the lap of Hussain. He said, have I fulfilled my vow? Have I fulfilled? Although the vow is nothing in place, have I done my duty? Right? Then he says that I see yourself in paradise. But what paradise? If you would have left last night, it's a different paradise. But this is something else. Right? That's why Karbala has founded the truth of Tawheed, truth of Wilayat. Tawheed is not accepted without Wilayat. Right? Without Imamat, there is no Tawheed, because Ahl Bayt are arkan of Tawheed. It's like praying namaz without wuzu. Yes, they may be saying praying namaz, but it's a rukn Tawheed. If you don't do takbiratul ihram, if you don't do, you have to break your prayer. Imamat, they are the one who have understood what Tawheed is. They are the one who have introduced what Tawheed is. Right? They have showed Tawheed. They have acted Tawheed. As I was saying, Tawheed Amali. Another person, in Karbala, from the ashab of, Abbas, he says that he had a friend and he says, you should go before me. Abbas says to his friend that you should go before me. And he says, why? I want to, why do you want to stay longer? It's not the case of that one will live longer. No. He says, you see this man? He points to Hussain. He said, this man have brought all of his family, and he's going to leave all of his family one after the other, and he will be left alone. Witr al-Mawtur. I will explain what Witr al-Mawtur in a bit. He is Witr al-Mawtur. He will be the unique, the single one. And I just want to feel the pain that he feels it. How he will feel that pain of all his loved ones gone. So I have you as a friend, and they say that they're two. Abbas only had this friend all his life. He says, I want to leave. I want to, see you dead. When I see you dead, I want to feel that pain. So I want to see the pain that this man's feel. Right? So this is why Karbala becomes Karbala. Right? Hur. Right? A lay person, I think we could relate with Hur a bit more. Right? When Hur was the one who wrote to Yazid, change Ibn Ziyad, bring Ibn Ziyad to Kufa. He, before he was a different governor, was very weak. If he's there's a problem for you, Yazid. Change to Ibn Ziyad. Ibn Ziyad came. The iron fist, cruel, Lanatullah alayh, right? He arrived. Hur was we know everything about Hur, right? When Hur was leaving the castle of Ibn Ziyad, he hears that Hur, welcome to paradise. He heard a voice. He said, strange. He looked left, right. Nothing was there. But he gave him Bashara fil Jannah, for Jannah, to enter paradise. He was like, what is this? Where does this came from? Right. But eventually, when he meets Hussain, and he tells this, Hussain, when I was leaving, I heard this voice, welcome to paradise. I couldn't figure it out. He says, Hur, that's why you are here. Right? Because he couldn't see at that night between Jannah and Jahannam. Right? And he sacrificed his life. But what changed him? He had that element of love of Zahra. He has that element of love of that major, the champion of champion, or the mother of all connectors, which is Zahra. Now salam. I was just reflecting about this. We were talking about mediums in the vehicle, and they are very powerful. And also it depends on themselves, how strong they are to connect. Imam Hussain is so strong, he connects us. Misbahul Huda wa Safina Nijah, because of Hussain, right? When we were saying Hadith-e-Qisa, the connector of Rasul is Fatima. who is Fatima? She is the hujjat on the Imams. She is the mother of the Prophet. Mother of the Prophet, what does that mean? She is not the mother. Physically is not, Prophet is mentioning that. But Prophet is mentioning the spiritual motherness that belongs to Zahra. She is my mother in that sense. That is why they say, Wama adraka ma Fatima. Nobody really knows who Fatima is. Right? She is that connector. With Fatima, when we recite in Hadith Kisa, who is under the cloak? Is Fatima, father, son, husband. Fatima is the connector. Right? So here Hussein said, may your mother cry on you, Hur. When Hur was stopping, Imam Hussain alayhi salam to go towards Kufa, Imam Hussain said, may your mother cry on you. Obviously, Imam Hussain with those makarimul akhlaq, he will never utter such a thing. But Imam Hussain is doing something, he's instigating, right? He's kind of pointing out he's trying to spark, wake Hur up. And Hur says, if your mother was not Zahra, I would have said the same thing. Right? That brought him back. That love of Fatima. She was the connector. And brought him where? To the point where, your mother have named you rightly. O Hur, you're free in this world and free in the hereafter. A person is free who knows where he is going. He's not attached to anything. He's free. And he's free in this world and free in the hereafter as well. Right? So it is Imam Hussain alayhi salam who have made this connection of ours to that Tawheed, not only in terms of the understanding, what we read here. The one who have you, the one who does not have you has lost everything. That Dua Arafah. If you read the translation of it, try to reflect upon it. What is it? How is he introducing? Bika araftuka wa anta dalaltani ilayk. Oh Allah, I know you because you showed yourself to me. Not that I saw the sun or the moon or the stars or things and I come to the realization that God exists. No, you have showed yourself to me. What is that seeing? Right? And it is possible for all of us. When it was possible for Hur, for example, who have done that sort of crime to that extent, look where he has reached. Where he becomes the point where the sixth Imam says, may my life be sacrificed for the Ashab of Hussain. Sixth Imam is saying that. Right? And others who were there in Karbala. They accelerated in terms of their Tawheedi understanding. Right? They swiftly reached to that marifat because of Hussain. Mullah Sadra, philosopher, says death is perfection. Death is Kamal, regardless of Muslim, non-Muslim, Zalim, whoever. Death itself is a perfection. Because when the soul reaches to a level where it has the possibility to dwell in Barzakh, it has those Barzakhi lungs, it has those Barzakhi vision, the soul will leave the body. Just like how baby, when it is it has reached, the fetus reached to a point where it could, be able to live here, it comes out of the womb of the mother. So death is the same thing, regardless of where this baby comes out, right? But for the soul as well, regardless of which level of barzakh this soul enters. But death itself is kamal and perfection. Now, a point was raised that, okay, if death is perfection, one would say that, okay, the soul have to be in a body for a longer period of time to reach and become old, and then it leaves the body. Naturally, that's the cycle that we see, right? So that means that the soul, for a soul from that time of birth till that sort of age of 90, whatever it reaches, it has developed and has reached that perfection and kamal that it leaves the body. How about in accidents, for example, that a young person dies in an accident or if a young child dies, what happens? He says that the procedure of perfection of the soul accelerates very quickly those phases, it quickly fulfilled those phases, because la yukallifullahu nafsan illa wusaha. Allah will not test a soul that the soul doesn't have that capacity, right? So it kind of swiftly accelerates. However, now when you put this philosophical concept with the hadith of Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, however, in terms of the physical nature of the soul, it reaches to a point, it has those lungs, it's breathing. But in terms of the intellectual nature of the soul, perhaps it has not reached to that Tawheedi understanding, where it may suffer. That's why Amirul Mu'mineen says that when a child dies, there are angels who will teach this child to understand the concept of Tawheed. You see? So that sort of marifati understanding of Tawheed, how can it not be possible that the ashab of Imam Hussain, who've been asked to leave, but at the same time wants to achieve that vision of Tawheed, that marifat, that understanding. Yes, they may be Usmani Maslak, like Zuhair was a Sunni, for example, he was Usmani, but Imam Hussain brought him and he was sacrificed, or Wahhabi was a Christian, for example. But because of his pure and sincere nature and appreciation of good, they joined Imam Hussain, right? And when they joined Imam Hussain, they stood fast, in their action, in this righteous act. And then Imam Hussain accelerated that process of Tawheed for them, showed them that reality and that truth, that understanding of what that really means of oneness. Perhaps something like, for example, we don't understand Arabic. I'm not an Arab myself, I'm an Urdu speaker, right? But when we sometimes read du'as, right? Dua Kumail, or maybe Munajat Shabaniya, or in month of Ramadan, Joshan Kabir, we get this feeling of, a presence, that we are completely in a different world altogether, and nothing really matters to us, right? The certainty and yaqeen is there, right? That kind of feeling, perhaps, and something much greater, right? As they say that when, sixth Imam used to put a ihram, labbaik, he would go unconscious, right? Or when he's reciting Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka, when he's reciting Maliki Yawmiddin, he would go unconscious while praying sometimes, right? Then the ghulam and the slave will come and sprinkle water on his face, and he will wake up and he will say, why did you do that? Because I was in communion with Allah at that moment, because there was no multiplicity for me. I wasn't recognizing anything to be multiple. I was in that state of oneness, right? That happens to a person who is on this path and who wants to meet Allah. We all are on the path of meeting Allah. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Ya ayyuhal insan innaka kadihun ila rabbika kadhan fa mulaqi. For that mulaqat, we are all on the journey, right? But sometimes this meeting is within when we are still alive. It is not at that full blast. And what that is at the full blast, we don't know. Where Masumin also did not know. That's why they said, oh Ali, tighten your back, get ready. It is the time of mulaqat. Although it is Ali. But to be completely out of the body of this physical realm and be in that barzakhi body, in that barzakhi realm, is something else. You see? But while being here, the possibility of that sort of matrix to take place, that sort of communion, come to that sort of complete state of annihilation and having that presence of Allah. We have tasted it and the possibility is there, right? But these awliya, they are always, or most of the time, they are in that state, on a very high level. Why? Because Allah have given them that life. And Quran clearly points out to, if you help me with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Through what? Through man amila salihan min dhakarin aw unathi wa huwa mu'min. Whether that be male, dhakar or unath, female, right? Whoever performs man amala salihan. Whoever performs amal salih, whether be male or female, what is up to them? Wa huwa mu'min. The one who does amal salih, he is a mu'min. Wa huwa mu'min, the Quran says. And فَنُحِيَنَّهُمْ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً, and we will provide them with a hayat tayyaba, a tayyib hayat, a good life. They may be sitting amongst everybody, but that lifestyle, the life that they have is a hayat tayyib, is a completely different life. It's like ma ra'aytu illa jamila, so to speak. It's the same life, but they are on a different plane, on a different, what do you call, wavelength altogether, right? And then the beauty is that Allah is so merciful, because Allah is merciful. And He says, لَنَجْزِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْرَهُمْ بِأَحْسَنَ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ, and we will provide them with the reward of the best action that they have done. I have prayed all my life. I have done ziyarat. I have done the charity. But among all of that, repetitively that I have done, among all of these, once it hits the bullseye. Allah is so merciful. He says that I will give this person who have continuously tried, this repetition that is there, he has out of all of that, one of them was which hits the bullseye. Out of mercy, Allah says, I will give him the reward of all of the amal that he has done to that bullseye reward. That's the mercy. And Hussein learned this mercy from Allah. And that's why, he created the whole system of mercy. That you shed one tear, all of your past sins are forgiven. And future sins are forgiven for Abdullah Hussain. He created the whole system based on the Quran. Allah is so merciful, and Hussein becomes that. And they are, as we recite in Ziyarat Jami'a wa Umana ur-Rahman, they are the minarets of mercy, Hussein. And a person who goes on ziyarat for Hussein, right? We were saying Witr al-Mawtur, this is just in the margin, I will come back to the topic. Witr al-Mawtur means what? He's the Witr, Salatul Witr means one, right? He's the only one left, perhaps one may say, in the plain of Karbala, right? That's what one would always think, that, he was the alone one left in Karbala, is Witr al-Mawtur. Yes, that is there. But there are 13 aspects of Hussein being Witr al-Mawtur. There are 13 reasons why he is Witr al-Mawtur. For example, there isn't any Imam who had a brother as Imam. It was only Imam Hussain who had a brother as Imam. He's Witr al-Mawtur, right? It is the Imam for which there is no Izn Dukhul of Haram. For other Imams, you have Izn Dukhul. For other Imams, you have Ghusl. For other Imams, you have Mustahabbat. When you take the step, take very small steps and recite this dua while taking step, recite this dua while doing Ghusl, recite this dua while entering the Ghusl, coming out of the, mashallah, they are Mustahabbat. When you go to the Haram, recite this. But for Hussein, what do you say? No. The way you come, from no matter where, walking, running, no ghusl, nothing, just go inside the haram. Say Assalamu alaikum Abu Abdullah and leave. That's it. For every sweat, the hadith says, for every sweat that comes out of your body, a malak will be created with that sweat. And this malak will stay in Karbala and do astaghfar for you till you're alive. This is Witr al-Mawtur. This is unique because what he has done, right? What he has left behind, that legacy, that concept of Tawheed. When they were saying in Kufa, Imam Sajjad Azan was giving, he says, it's Baqi, that Baqa of Tawheed is because of the sacrifice of Hussein. Right? That's what he has done. The whole legacy of deen, of Tawheed. Now we said the concept, mashallah, they are that concept of understanding and achieving and tasting and reaching that. Hussein have left that. Right? And also in terms of, we said Tawheed Amali, in terms of action. What is Tawheed Amali? That means that one comes to the understanding of that there is only actions or fail. Other than Allah, there is no fail. Allah is the fa'il. He is the fa'il. All fail belongs to Him. And to really understand and see that requires a lot of conceptualization and actions as well. Iman and Amal Saleh. That's why you find Like for example, what are we really talking about? We are talking about that mulaqat. We are talking about that annihilation, that unity, that oneness, that we become one with Allah. Okay. In the common sense, one says that when that happens, it is actually inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. When a person dies, what is death called? Death is called ajal in the Quran. Man kana yarju liqa Allah li ajalin, whosoever desires yearn for liqa'ullah, which is meeting Allah. Now this meeting Allah is that meeting which brings about that oneness, that concept of Tawheed, physically, from a fail point of view and from a conceptual point of view, that liqa'ullah. Or that liqa'ullah one could be ajal, which is, meeting, which is maut. Ajal is also known as maut. There's a verse in the Quran which says that, if you help me with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. In Surah Ankabut it says, Man kana yarju liqa Allah fa inna ajal Allahi la'atin wa huwa samiul alim. Whosoever desires to meet Allah. Now this meeting is a meeting where inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, by death. Or this meeting is no, I want to meet Allah now, at this very moment, to have that feeling of that meeting, which we are talking about, that tawheed, that oneness. And here the Quran says, Ajal Allah. Ajal means death, if we take this, interpret this as, or Ajal also means a time. Time. A time is fixed. Ajal Allahi lat is a fixed time for that. Death is fixed time as well. And that spiritual meeting, for that as well, there's a fixed time. The point is that we have to keep on trying. With what? Man kana yarju liqa Allah. In another verse it says that فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلَ صَالِحًا. He should do amal salih for that oneness, for that tawheed to reach. Right? That time is also fixed. Now, if I would desire that liqa, which is spiritual liqa, right? Not the dead, not the death. Then there is Rabbi فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلَ صَالِحًا. I should do amal salih. Right? I should do amal salih. And وَلَا يُشْرِكْ بِعِبَادِهِ رَبِّهِ أَحَدًا. And I should not do shirk. I should do amal salih, and I should not do shirk. Now, when it comes to shirk, the Quran also says, وَمَا يُؤْمِنْ أَكْثَرُهُمْ بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. There is no mu'min who have iman, but he's a mushrik as well. So it's very difficult to come to that understanding of that tawheed in terms of concept, in terms of action as well. Because Quran is recognizing that there is no mu'min illa that they are mushrik. They are mu'min, but at the same time they are mushrik. When they ask, what type of shirk? Shirk-e khafi. What is shirk-e khafi? What is the definition? The Prophet says that in a dark night, you have a black stone and you have a black ant and it moves. Can you see that ant moving? It's literally impossible to see that. And Prophet says, this is shirk-e khafi. Right? So that we all have that. Right? That feeling of that. But with amal salih, with righteous act continuously, if we yearn for that liqa, for that meeting to take place, time is fixed for it. There's always a fixed time. From our side, that amal salih should be there. We try so many times for ziyarat. Oh, I want to go ziyarat arba'in, I want to do ziyarat. It never happens. Right? We try it. It never happens. Sometimes it happens. Because when it's going to happen, that time is fixed. Right? And many times we go to ziyarat, but we don't get that sort of riqat, qalb, that softness and all that. But all of a sudden it comes. That time is fixed. But my point is that, okay, it didn't happen, so it means I should leave it? No. I have to continuously try for that, so that it happens. And it will happen. It is something that is promised. Right? And that's what imamat is all about. Right? Risalat is that Rasul comes, gives the message. That's a risalat. Imam is someone who takes your hand and makes sure that you reaches the goal. That is an imam. Sooner or later, believing in that wilayat, believing in that imamat, he will take us there. He will make us reach there. From our side is amal salih. From our side is that love. From our side is, that connection, maintaining that connection. And Hussein managed to do that. 2 months and 8 days, house to house, year after year. From when we were 10 years old, we could remember Hussein, Hussein. Up until now, we remember Hussein, Hussein. Because Hussein is the one who connects. Hussein is the one. And it is that Husseini belief of Tawheed is only possible to remain and subsist when we look at the Masaib of Hussein. Azamul Musibah. If it is Azim, Tawheed Azim, the Musibat is Azim too. It has to be. If that connection is that powerful, then the thorns and hurdles and difficulties and the pains and trials and tribulation will be that. But Hussein managed to pull that. And the Ashab of Hussein managed to pull that. And the lovers of Hussein is managing and pulling that. Take my hand, cut. Give your hand. No, left hand, cut. Give your hand. No, take my head, because you cut last year. Ziyarat of Hussein at the time of Mutawakkil, Abbasi. Right? So when they have done it, for what? For that Tawheed. That concept of that oneness. For that Tawheed Amali, in that action, yes, it is here and we can. When Quran is saying, you are not shooting, O Prophet, the arrow, it is Allah shooting. When they are giving bay'ah on the hand of the Prophet, it is not the hand of the Prophet, it is the hand of Allah. When there is Nafsullah, when there is Ainullah, when there is, Lisanullah, that's oneness in action. And it can happen. And it can happen to any. And Hussein made that possible. Imamat and Wilayat made that possible. Right? That's why we see these sacrifices, especially, particularly, Imam Hussein did whatsoever was possible in terms of the Wilayat, of manifesting patience, shuja'at, goodness, you name it, hikmat, knowledge, everything to the highest level till Ashura. He made sure that he did it. The task was difficult after that, to protect that. Why there was why there wasn't any other Karbala after Hussein? It is because of Sajjad and Zainab. One sacrifice of Hussein was enough to save Tawheed ilmi wa amali. Other Imams would have sacrificed for Tawheed ilmi wa amali. All the other Imams would have done the same thing which Hussein did. But Sajjad and Zainab protected. Because Zainab was always protecting Imam's life. We read in Maqatil, but this is very powerful to reflect upon these Maqatil. The narrator reports, the journalist who was sitting, he says, when Hussein was on the body of Akbar, and he was in a state of rage and sorrow, and how Imam Hussein came to Akbar. He says, Akbar, I cannot see, call me. Right? That's how he came. He crawled to the body of Akbar. And he puts the head of Akbar in the lap. The enemies surrounded, clapping and whistling and laughing on Hussein. The narrator reports that it looked like a lion with a prey and the hyenas troubling this lion. The lion will go and kick the hyenas far away and come back to the prey. Hussein was like that. The enemies were clapping and laughing and not allowing Hussein to cry and speak to Akbar. He would go and he would pull them, he would push them back and come back. Here it says that I saw Hussein in this state, and he was looking up the heaven, and I saw a lady coming out of the tent. And I was shocked, and then I realized that it was Zainab bint Ali. She comes and places the hand on the shoulder of Hussein and says, brother, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Zainab, why are you out? You never came out for honor Muhammad. I saw the ruh of Hussein will leave the body because of the pain of Akbar. So when you say give pursa, it brings the pain down. Then she is the protector of that imamat and wilayat, Zainab. Then on the day of Ashura, when they changed Sajjad and was taking Sajjad, they made sure purposely they take the shuhada from the qatlgah, from the bodies of the shuhada. And here Sajjad was in chains and he sees his father on the ground without its head. As Imam says, that my salam to the shaheed who have nothing on his body, everything was looted. And Sajjad was in a state of awe and shock to see father this close. Zainab runs. He says, Sajjad, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Allahumma taqabbal hadha shaheed. May Allah accept this shaheed of yours. But Zainab says, if I don't go and protect Sajjad, ruh will leave the body. She is the protector of wilayat. She is the protector of imamat. She is the protector of the message of that Tawheed. Look at her speeches and khutbat. In Kufa, they say that it was hujum, it was crowded, people, noises, children, women, men, animals, horses, camels. And she raises her finger and she said, quiet. Even the bell that was hanging in the neck, that was quiet. That stopped. Not even the sound of the bell. Because she has that wilayat. She is that oneness. She is one with Allah. Her action is the action of God. وَمَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى. She's anti alimatu bila muallima. Rasul was an alim without muallim. Zainab is alim without muallim. She says, stop everything. When Prophet shoots the arrow, it is not Prophet shooting, it is Allah shooting. When Zainab says something, it is not Zainab, it is Allah. She's on that level. Right? So and then she delivers that speech, that khutbah of Tawheed, of Nabuwat, of Imamat. Look at this, that the strategy Imam Hussain used for foundation of this Tawheed. Look at his strategy. He went for war. People come out and fight with me. I will kill you. Because if you stay in your home, you're going to create trouble for propagation of Tawheed. You have to come in front of me and I will eliminate you and I will uproot you. Because when the Zulfiqar runs, it look at 70 generations in the future. So you have nothing but darkness in you. And if you sit in your house, you will be troublesome for Tawheed. You have to come in front of me. And if I'm not in the battleground, you will not come out. Hussain knew he will be killed, yes, but he has to get rid of these elements that are becoming, hurdles for the spread of Tawheed. He has to uproot them. There was a battle, 30,000 with 72. How many? It was like the heads were moving like locust. The way on the day of Ashura he was killing. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah at the same time. It is the power of Allah but nothing else. Right? Zainab. Now Hussain did that. Now this message must go in the capital where they think that Ali, what was he doing in prayers? Masjid. Ali was killed in Masjid. What was he doing? That is Sham. Who will take this message of Tawheed to Sham? Who will take this message of Wilayat to Sham? In the capital where people are thinking, Ali, what was he doing in Masjid? Right? This is their mentality in Sham. Now this message of Tawheed must go in the capital. It goes in the capital by Zainab. It was so difficult. Asham. It was not easy. If the sacrifice of Hussain was like that, the Zainab entering Sham was of that level, where there are dignitaries, ministers waiting. And then here Zainab comes in the middle of public, of people, without maqna and chadar, as a prisoner. And then Sakina there. And a person comes and he says, can I buy this girl? Imagine. It's the daughter of Hussain. Zainab says, Sajjad, look what they're saying. Fizza comes and says, rage, what are you talking about? This is the daughter of Hussain, granddaughter of Rasulullah. You want to buy? Zainab is the protector. It was so difficult on that night when Sakina with the head of Hussein was speaking in Sham, in the prison of Sham, and saying, "Oh Baba, after you left, they burnt our tents. After we left, you said they treat orphan kindly, but they slapped us. But you know what, Baba? You know, whenever they want to whip, Auntie Zainab will throw herself on me." Zainab is the protector. It wasn't easy. This is Sham. And Zainab, when she leaves Sakina in the prison of Sham, when she buries her and comes to Imam Hussain in Arba'in, she says, "Hussein, you have given me one trust, one amana, that I have left her in Sham. It wasn't easy for Zainab, the suffering of Zainab, the prison, just now beautifully recited in the eulogy, the poetry. Hind is coming, the wife of the Amir is coming, and you know that story as well, when that caravan was taken and they were all prisoners, and in one narration reports that Zainab was hiding her face, and this slave of known as Shireen, she comes and she says, "Where is this caravan from Medina?" She says, "How is Zainab?" He says, "Shireen, will you recognize when you see Zainab?" Look at what they have suffered, that pain. And all of this suffering was beautiful for them. It was successful. The mission was successful. And she goes after, returns back to Medina. This is Majlis Tamam is finished. Zainab comes to the grave of the Prophet, recites the Masaib of every Shaheed. You know what she did not recite? She did not mention and utter a word of honor in Muhammad. When the heads were given, she wasn't the one who took the head of honor in Muhammad. She took the head of Hussein. These two little heads were staying in the tray. The lady said, "Hey, who are these heads belong to? Is the orphan? No, the mother is not there. No, mother is there." But Zainab have done that sacrifice. So she mentioned near the grave of the Prophet all of the Masayid of Ali Akbar, of Qasim. She does not mention. You know, when she mentions Honor in Muhammad, she goes to her house, open the door of the house. She look at the yard and she throws herself on the ground. Honor in Muhammad, that's the Hujra, that's the room of Honor in Muhammad. That's the well where Honor in Muhammad used to fetch. Al-Alanatullah. على قوم الظالمين سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون اللهم صل وسلم على وزد وبارك بفاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها وسر المستودع فيها بعدد ما أحاط به علمك بمولاتي سيدة زينب سلام الله عليها يا الله 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 يا رحمن يا رحيم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك يا قاضي الحاجات يا كافي المحمات إنك على كل شيء قدير. Parvadigarat, for the sake of Hazrat Zainab Salamullah alayha, accept this little ibadat of ours. For the sake of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, forgive all of our sins and the sins of our marhumin, and increase their daraja and bring them closer in barzakh and hereafter with Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. Ya Allah, bihaqqi Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, protect our young ones and keep them on the path of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Ya Allah, bihaqqi Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, give shifa to Jumla Mu'mineen and Mu'minat who are in need of shifa. Ya Allah, bihaqqi Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, attend to the people who are suffering in Pakistan with these floods and make easy for them the source of sustenance and their houses, inshallah. Ya Allah, bihaqqi Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, give us the opportunity to do the ziyarat of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein in this world and provide us with the shafaat of Hussein in the hereafter. And the shafaat of Hussein will take us to that Tawheed. That's why there is shafaat of Hussein. Ya Allah, bihaqqi Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, haste the reappearance of our 12th Imam. Include us as the faithful companions of the 12th Imam. Protect our Maraja-e-Izam and give them tawfiq to create the groundwork for the return of our 12th Imam. Ya Allah, bihaqqi Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, protect and honor the Sahibul Bayt, the Sahib of this Majlis, Abbas Bhai, Qamar Abbas Bhai, and his family from all of the calamities of this dunya and hereafter. Give him success and forgive all of his marhumin and the marhumin of his wife, inshallah, and increase their daraja. Rahimallahu man qara al-Fatiha li arwah al-mu'minina wal-mu'minat, especially the marhumin of all of the brothers and sisters who are present here, and the marhumin of Qamar Abbas Bhai family and his wife's family as well. Al-Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.